Hey, how's it going? So I wanted to put together a quick video here to talk about threading in Java. One of the things that Java does for us is it allows us to run multiple processes from inside our code. And these processes can do, whatever Java statements we want them to do, but they can run in parallel with other statements. So in C, we talked about how to do this with fork and exec and things like that. Java makes it very easy to do this because it bundles everything into the language of objects and classes. Okay, so I want to look at how to do this in Java. Now this is a very high level description just to get you on the air. Okay, for what you need to do for PA5, this will be sufficient, but real discussion of threading needs to talk about things like sharing memory, right? How do we deal with memory objects that are cached, right, using the volatile keyword? How do we deal with shared access to the same thing and the possibility of things like deadlock and live lock, synchronization of processes, dining philosophers, all that stuff we'll talk about next week. This is just enough to get you started. So I'm going to make a main process, and I'm going to do the following inside here. I'm just going to make a little loop that prints out consecutive integers. And I'm going to print them all side by side. And I'll print out a new line at the end. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a new class, which I call counter. And I'm going to put a method in here, which I'm going to call run. And inside here I'm going to do exactly the same thing, except I'm going to go from 100 to 200, or to 199. Alright, so I can create an object of type counter, and inside there's a method called run, and I can call that run method, and it should print the numbers from 100 to 199. Alright, so here's what I can do. This is not terribly startling. So we're just going to call c.run to execute the run method. Typo city. And then we're going to print out the numbers from 0 through 100. So if I compile this, don't forget to initialize your objects. So I compile this and run it, and you can see that the run method printed out the numbers from 100 through 199, a new line, and then our main method printed out the numbers from 0 through 99. Okay, that's exactly what this says to do. What we can do in Java is very easily we can say I want this method to run at the same time that this loop is running. And to make that happen, we only have to do two things. First thing we have to do is we have to say our counter class extends thread. Okay, so thread is part of the language, right? Java language thread, and you can read all about it here, but we don't really need to know a whole lot about the thread class to get parallelism running. So we have this method called run. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make one more change. Instead of calling c.run, we're going to call c.start. Alright, so what happens here? I'm going to call the start method. This does two things. It creates a new thread, and then it calls the run method. Alright, so if we call c.run, all we're doing is we're just saying let's run this method. But if we call c.start, right, like this, two things happen. The system creates a new thread, and then in that new thread it calls c.run. So this code should look exactly the same as the previous one, except this method is going to run in parallel with this loop. So let's go ahead and compile, and let's run. And what you can see is that we started printing our loop 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our counter objects method started running. There was 100, 101, 102, 103, interspersed with our main program's loop all the way up to 99. Then after 99, it was just the counter object running, and that just counted the rest of the way from 106 to 199. And if I run this again, I'll get something different. Right here, our main method did 0, 1, 2, 3. Counter started kicking in, 101, 102, and then the counter got a big run of time all the way up to 118, right? And this is true multitasking, right? Different threads running, and you cannot really control when they execute. Okay. Now for PA5, this is sufficient, right? All we're going to do is we're going to create our what I call the NetThread class, right? Which extends a thread, has a run method, which will read messages from the other player, interpret them, treat them as mouse clicks. And then some methods in here that we can just call to send things out to the other player. And some startup stuff probably in the constructor to either create the server socket or create the socket, link them together. But to actually use the threading itself, right, all you got to do is make a method called run and then invoke that method by calling start. Okay, but this is the whole trick. Write your method, call it run, but then don't call run when you want it to execute, call start. Okay, if I call run, it's still just going to run in the same thread. If I call start, that makes the new thread. All right, play around with that. It's really fun to play with. Make some threads, have them do things, watch how they interact with each other, and then we'll talk next week about how to use this to reliably handle multiple threads accessing shared memory and so on and so forth. All right, have fun. Talk to you later. Bye.